What kinds of relationships should you seek to have with others that can bring that healthy, authentic part of yourself out? And what types of relationships should we think about trying to avoid? Or what behaviors, at least in relationships, should we think about trying to avoid?
Well, that's a tough question. First of all, I don't know anybody over 40 or over 30 probably who doesn't have some regret about a relational choice they made somewhere, and who says, what was I thinking, or what did I do there? Or what do I need to learn from that? The reason I call it the Eden Project is there's a piece in us that's there from childhood. Remember, where do we start in life? Connected to the heartbeat of the universe. And then at the birth process, we're traumatically separated from that other that met all of our needs. And we're thrown into this world, tiny, vulnerable, dependent, at the mercy of things. So the baby would climb back inside if it could, but it can't.
Yeah.
There's some archaic part of everybody's psyche that wants to merge with that other. That's what the whole fantasy of romance feeds, is the idea of finding that magical other who's going to fix your life for you, be your perfect partner, and be there all the time. And frankly, if you pursue it long enough, what it's really looking for is the good parent who's going to take care of you. And people wouldn't say that because that would be embarrassing, but underneath it, that's what sort of the search is about. And to the degree that would happen would mean, okay, then you remain a child. You're not living your life at all. So when it comes to relationship, what is it that I can reasonably ask from another person? Well, I think you can ask truthfulness, fidelity, reciprocity, things of that sort, certainly. But the key thing that other brings to us, though, is their otherness. Because how do we grow except insofar as we engage the otherness of the other? And by engaging it and incorporating it, I am enlarged as a result of that. That's why we have education. That's why we value travel. You get to have the experience of that other that now enlarges my sense of self and my capacity for values and choices and so forth. So most relationships have a regressive and a progressive dimension. The regressive one is the one we've referenced, and that is the desire to sort of find that person who's going to make my life work for me. Well, guess what? I found that person. It's me, not my partner. And we have to ask what I would consider a useful and healthy question. What am I asking of my partner or of any other that I need to address for myself? Let's just take self-worth, for example. Self-worth is something important for most people, or everybody to some degree, and many people have some difficulties there. If I'm counting on my partner to make me feel good about me, then I am either controlling or I'm constantly frustrated with that other person. I need to say, well, you don't want to be partnered with someone who's denigrating you, for sure. But on the other hand, that's my job. I care for my partner by lifting that off of her shoulders. I take that on. I'm responsible for my emotional well-being, not the other. And if I've lifted that off, I've freed our relationship of some baggage. And I can, ironically, have a greater sense of that reciprocity and support that comes from being with another person.
I would find that that is so true, but I think people struggle because they don't even know their own fulfillment needs, let alone the other person's fulfillment needs. And so there's work that's required there to be able to get to that point.
That's right. And it's not even just human partnerships. We expect things from our careers. We expect things from institutional affiliations or ideological associations.
Right.
That's why this generic question, I think, is a helpful one. What am I asking the other that ought to really be my responsibility to address? If I do that, and I think it's a loving thing to do, you lift that off of the shoulders of the other.
Who am I that this is happening to me is another way maybe to think about it.
Maybe, certainly.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember not to be too kind of trite here, but I remember a line from Cool Runnings, which was a movie I watched a lot in childhood, where I think John Candy's character is telling one of the younger characters who's participating in the bobsled Olympics that if you're not enough without the gold medal, you'll never be enough with it. So you can't, to your point, rely on external success or external validation, whatever it may be, to take the place of whatever it is we're searching for in terms of that some kind of self-acceptance.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And that's why most often people feel betrayed somewhere around midlife. It's like, all right, if I meet this person and I commit to that person, if I engage investorly in this career, when I do X, Y, and Z, then I'm going to feel okay about myself, right?
Right.
Well, probably not. Right. Mm-hmm. What's unfinished is typically something intrapsychic. And that's why, again, if you recognize that that's your project, you lift off of these other things and unburden them, you have a kind of more realistic summons to your own accountability. I am responsible for my own journey, my well-being. Now, I hope that I have friends and partners and others along the way who wish to be reciprocal. But anytime, because the power complex infiltrates most relationships, as we know,
Yeah.
And it's like when the other is not doing what I expect from the other, and what I expect may be only partly conscious, then I wind up in passive aggressive behavior, controlling behaviors, or whatever. And that's when things get really sticky in relationships. If we value relationships so much, why do so many end up in, trouble, broken, bitter, etc.? And it's true in relationship to the projections, the fantasies, the expectations we had going into it, that were by and large unconscious and evasive of our own personal accountability.